What is the plan if the decision does not go Governor Youngkin's way? To Virginia's Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears. Lieutenant Governor, what's Plan B just in case this does not go the way not only of the governor, but let's also say the folks who put him in office?
Well, what's going to happen is we're just going to follow the law. The decision we're expecting probably tomorrow, and we're expecting that we will prevail and that the parents will be able to make the decision about about the mask that the children should wear or should not wear. Imagine giving the parents the ability to make those decisions for their children. I mean, what a concept. So we are hoping that we will prevail. But if we don't, Charles, we're a nation of laws. We're a commonwealth of laws. We're going to abide by the decision that the Supreme Court of Virginia provides for us. And, you know, if we can't get anything through the legislature, then that's what we have to live with. From what I understand, the law anyway that everybody is, focusing on that says we do have to follow the law in Virginia, which was based on Senate Bill 1303. From what I understand, that expires in August. So, you know, one way or the other, this mask mandate will come to an end. Finally. How
much of this, though, is just really a sort of a bitterness over losing the election? And again, I'll get back to this point. I think the state made a loud and resounding message, not only to the folks there, but to the rest of the country, that parents want to be the ones who make the main decisions for what happens to their children, whether they wear masks or what they learn in school.
When we ran for office, we were running for a whole year, and we told the voters exactly what we were going to do. We did not hide anything from them. We said that we were going to give the parents the option of choosing whether to mask or not. And now that we have won the election, imagine that you're trying to fulfill your campaign promises. Imagine politicians are trying to live up to their word. That's all we're trying to do. That's what the governor is trying to do. And we have our Attorney General, Jason Miyares, who argued that very same case right now before the Virginia Supreme Court. Now, you ask, well, what is the issue about, them us winning elections and now they're out of power? Elections, as a president said to us not so long ago, President Obama, that elections have consequences. And so these are the consequences of, winning an election. We get to fulfill our word. The parents are looking for us to do that, and we are going to. How difficult is it, Charles, to say those parents who want to mask their children, mask your child. But if you don't want to mask, don't mask them. I don't understand how that impacts you at all.
Yeah. Lieutenant Governor, I want to change the topic here for a moment, because the suspect in that deadly shooting of 2 officers at Bridgewater College making a court appearance today. This is a nationwide epidemic, the rise in crime. What are your thoughts, particularly as we see just 2 more officers, taking this sort of damage?
My God, my God. Here we are reaping what some politicians have sown. They have vilified our law enforcement officials, and so people are emboldened to do whatever they think is their idea of right. It's whatever their truth is. And if their truth is that policemen are bad, well, then they're going to do things to get rid of them, aren't they? And so what we're saying is, we're not going to allow that to happen. We are a nation of laws. We understand that our policemen need training, our police women need training, law enforcement, they need some more training, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah. But how can it be that we are losing our law enforcement in this manner? Not just in Virginia. You saw what happened in New York.
Yeah.
I was raised in the South Bronx, and I just can't believe what's happening. We have the gentleman, John Painter, a former police chief of the Grottos, and he decided he was going to retire and come to Bridgewater, a safe community, retirement, nice, a quiet community. You're not even safe there, apparently.
Yep.
And then he was, as you probably know, the best man to J.J. Jefferson. And by the way, Mr. Jefferson just celebrated a birthday, and he instituted, when he was at Shenandoah University, so many safety features on campus that he was given an award in 2017.
Yeah.
And we have to remember, when policemen are running, they run towards the violence while we're running away. They put a vest on and go to work every day.
Yeah.
These are our heroes.
It's really
My
heartbreaking.
God, what is happening to us?
Well, you know what? A lot of it goes, this rhetoric is, this war on police started as rhetoric more than a decade ago, and it's mushroomed into this. And the people who've authored it, at some point, we need to hold them into account. Lieutenant Governor, it's a pleasure. My first time interviewing you. I waited for this moment. It's an honor. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.